Thinking about an Alaskan cruise, but not sure which cruise line, which itinerary, and which excursions are right for you? Well, I've got you covered. If you're over 55 like me and you're looking for breathtaking scenery, stress-free travel, and enriching experiences, Alaska is one destination you don't want to miss. And throughout this video, I'm going to be sprinkling in some advice to help you avoid some common mistakes. Just about every cruise line sends ships to Alaska for the Alaska cruise season. But the three that I recommend to cruisers like me in the 55 plus category are Holland America, Princess, and Celebrity Cruises. And the reason why is because they cater more to an adult cruise vibe. And what I mean by that is they don't have the rock climbing walls and the water slides that you'll find on Royal Caribbean and Norwegian Cruise Line and Carnival. Let's start by talking about what these three cruise lines have in common. They all have a relaxed, adult-oriented atmosphere with few children. They have scenic cruising and naturalist talks on board. They have land and sea options, though let me talk a second about the land and sea options of Princess and Holland America. Princess has invested big time in their getting you to Denali. They have their own rail line and they have their own lodges. So they really do have kind of a leg up on Celebrity when it comes to that land tour if you choose to do that. And we'll talk more about the land tour later in this video. All three have cultural enrichment activities. All three have great dining with regional specialties. All three are spacious mid-sized ships with comfortable staterooms. That's something else that sets them apart from like Norwegian or Royal Caribbean. They're not mega ships, like they max out around 3,000 passengers. They all have longer port stays. So when you go to Alaska, one of the big things you're gonna do is you're gonna be going on excursions. Well, in order to go on the excursions that you wanna go on, you need to have longer time in port. And all three of these offer that. They all have excellent service and they all have excursions for all activity levels. And we're going to be talking real specifically about excursions also a little later in this video. So let's break it down. So of those three, you can choose which one's right for you. Let's start with Holland America. Holland America is classic, elegant cruising with a focus on history and nature. And you know, it does skew to an older crowd. However, when you're sailing to Alaska, everybody wants to go to Alaska. So I think a lot of times the whole idea of age doesn't really play as big into the decisions as much as itineraries, price, availability, things like that. Next, Holland America has been going to Alaska longer than any other cruise line, and they have Glacier Bay access, which is very important to me, and we'll talk about that too in a little bit. They have live music with the music walk and cultural lectures. They do have production shows in the main theater. They have like a dance group and then they have a singing group. And then one night they usually bring them all together. But they're not as big as the shows that you're going to see on Princess and on Celebrity. They have spacious ships with the wraparound teak decks, which is great for scenic viewing. And one thing that's nice about Holland America is they do have a have-it-all package. That includes the drinks, the Wi-Fi, one specialty dining, and then shore excursion credit. And then this cruise line is best for travelers who love in-depth learning and scenic cruising. Now let's talk about Princess. Princess is a mix of entertainment, relaxation, and cultural immersion. They also have Glacier Bay access. They have the North to Alaska program with native Alaskan speakers and performers. On the last Princess cruise that we went to Alaska, they had this guy come on the ship in Skagway and he was a hoot and he had songs and stories from the gold country, which I thought was great. They do have Broadway style shows that are backed up by their band, which I thought was great also. They do have the adults-only Sanctuary Retreat, which is a great place to go on Glacier Bay Day for viewing. And then they have Princess Plus and Princess Premier packages, which includes drinks, Wi-Fi, gratuities, and more. I'm going to link a video below that talks all about Princess Plus and Princess Premier. And so Princess is best for, who's it best for? It's best for travelers who love scenic cruising and variety. Celebrity Cruises has upscale stylish ships with a relaxed but premium vibe. It has high-end dining and wine experiences with Michelin star chef-inspired menus. This is especially in their specialty dining like Murano and Tuscan Grill. They have wellness-focused spas and adults-only solarium pool, which is nice because that's an indoor pool. And when you're in Alaska, you don't want to go outside in the pool. And then they have retreat and aqua class, which offer high-end experiences. They also have an inclusive option, and this one just includes drinks and Wi-Fi. So this is best for travelers who enjoy modern luxury and smaller crowds. And I have to say, people who go on celebrity cruises are often very loyal to celebrity cruises. So what's the final verdict? If you want a classic cruise line with a focus on nature and culture, pick Holland America. If you want a mix of entertainment and relaxation, choose Princess. And if you want modern luxury experience with gourmet dining, you'll want to choose Celebrity Cruises. Time for a sprinkle of advice. If this is your first time to Alaska, it'd be a mistake not to go on a cruise line that offers Glacier Bay. And of those three, the two that offer Glacier Bay are Princess and Holland America. So even though Celebrity is a great cruise line, I'd pick one of the other two. Now that you've chosen your cruise line, let's focus on the itinerary that's right for you. When sailing to Alaska, there are many, many different itineraries and options. In this video, we're going to just focus on the two most popular options. I'm going to link in the description below a video that I just did that covers every cruise ship that Princess, Celebrity, and Holland America are sailing to Alaska in the 2025 season. But for now, let's just focus on the most popular. The first most popular is called an Inside Passage. The Inside Passage is a round trip. So it starts out of Seattle or Vancouver, and it goes to Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, and stops in Glacier Bay if you're on Princess or Holland America. If you're on Celebrity Cruises, they'll stop at Dawes Glacier or the Hubbard Glacier. So those are different. You still get to see glaciers, it's just not Glacier Bay. Before I go on to the next most popular itineraries, which are one-ways, I want to talk about why Glacier Bay is so important. Glacier Bay, when you go to Glacier Bay, it's an 8-hour cruise in and out of Glacier Bay, which is a national park. They have park rangers that come on the ship and spot wildlife. They have talks about glaciers and the wildlife in that area. So it really is, to me, one of the main reasons why I wanted to go to Alaska in the first place. The next itinerary that you're going to find are one-ways. So they're going out of Vancouver, or they could also go out of Seattle. They often also stop at Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway, going to Glacier Bay on the way, and then they often also have the Hubbard Glacier, which the Hubbard Glacier is amazing. It's so huge. And then they stop in Whittier or Seward, Alaska. Time for another sprinkle advice. If you take a one-way cruise, either northbound or southbound, you will probably want to add on a land tour. Now, my advice here is we did a 3-day land tour. It was really quick. And because of that, I felt like we were packing and unpacking the whole time. We didn't really get a time to really relax and enjoy what we're seeing. The things that were great were, we did see a moose. That was awesome. We got to go on the rail car that took us up into Denali. We got to go into Denali. So we got to do everything, but I felt like it was kind of at a frantic pace. So the first piece of advice I would say when it comes to a land tour is to make sure that you book like a 5-day land tour instead of just a 3. Most cruise itineraries stop at Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway. Some stop in Sitka, so they'll substitute like Sitka for, say, Skagway. But in this video, I'm going to cover the big three, because those are the ones that you most likely are going to go to. The first stop we're going to talk about is Ketchikan. And my husband, he went on a bunch of these excursions with me, so I'm going to ask him to join us because he's currently behind the camera, but I like him in the camera when he has things to contribute.
Hi.
So we're going to start with one of the excursions that we went on last year in Ketchikan, which was the
Bering Sea Crab Boat Tour Excursion. That was awesome.
Yeah. So now that this guy owned this boat that was in the Deadliest Catch, and he
TV show.
He
converted it and then turned it into this tour operation where he takes you out and you go out and you listen to stories and you send out crab pots and retrieve them and you learn about all the wildlife, and they have a live tank on the boat, and they have different types of crabs and creatures and stuff they take out, and you can hold them. And then they go, we were just talking about this again because it's so awesome. So they have an agreement with some Native Americans, a piece of land that they have there that has bald eagles on it, and they go over there and they throw food out for the fish out for the eagles. The eagles, of course, are used to this. They know they're coming, so they swoop down. They're flying by the boat, right by your heads and stuff, and grabbing this fish out of the air as they throw it to them. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I totally remember it forever.
And remember, so one of the most memorable parts I thought was we're going back in to disembark, and there was a whale. That was
right in the harbor. Yeah, in between a couple of the boats. It was crazy.
That was amazing. So we got to see this whale feeding, literally how many yards? 200 yards away.
Yeah, if that.
It was great. So I thought the whole experience was wonderful, and the men who ran it, they're these old guys. They're the 55 plus crowd, and they're pulling out the crab pots. I was impressed.
Yeah,
I thought
incredible stories. And all those things, so it's well worth it.
It's a winner. That was the second time we've been to Alaska. The first time we went to Alaska, when we went to Ketchikan, we went to the Great Alaskan Lumberjack
Show.
And that was a lot of fun. It kind of reminded, we live in Southern California and we have Knott's Berry Farm near us, and it kind of reminded me of that. But they had I think they're athletes.
Oh yeah,
You'd have to be. They're climbing.
A lot of skill, and it's very much family-friendly show. There's kids, and I think they brought some people out of the audience up and that kind of stuff. But it's entertaining. It's
entertaining, and I would definitely say, again, for all activity levels, anybody can go. Now, a little sprinkle of advice on both of these. So this one, I would purchase that directly through the Bering Sea Fishermen's, and I'll put a link in the description below. It's the exact same boat that you're going to book from the ship. If you want to book through Princess or Celebrity or Holland America, it's the exact same. There's only one boat, so you're going to be.
I think it was only one time a day they did it too. So you're going to be on the same boat, the same tour as people who booked it through the cruise line versus just buying the tickets on your own.
And you're going to save $60 a person. So I definitely would just book that one direct. Now, the Great American Lumberjack Show that we went on, that I would book it through the cruise line. It's about the same price through the cruise line, maybe a $5 difference. And if you book through the cruise line, now you don't have to worry about anything. You just pay your money to go, and then you go. This is walking distance from the ship, super fun.
I think even even if it was covered, so even if it was raining, they probably still do the show.
They still do the show. That's something to know. That is something to know. When we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the video, we're going to talk all about packing and what to pack, because it rains a lot. You're in a temperate rainforest, so they're doing the show, rain or not. So you need to make sure you pack so you're prepared for rain. And like I said, we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, another thing that you can do when you're there is Creek Street is a very popular area, and then the totem poles, lots of totem pole things to go to in Ketchikan that are also close to the ship and very easy for
it's not a difficult walk, not hard to get to.
No, just miles.
And there's sidewalks, and it's not not rough.
For the more adventurous, there are some fun things to do. So this year, Even though we're going in May when it's going to be so cold, we're going to have to pack differently this year because we've gone in July the last 2 years. We're going to go on a canoe ride. There's different canoe rides in Ketchikan, so I want to go on a canoe ride there because I think that'll be something different, and I like to be active, and as long as I'm 55 and plus and can still do it, I want to do it. So we're going to go. And then I don't want to do this, though, is zip lining. So it is a temperate forest, and I'm sure that the zip lining there is fantastic, but I'm not a zip liner.
I'd do it.
You do. You're afraid of heights.
Depends.
A little sprinkle of advice to avoid a mistake is you want to think about the tour duration, and you want to think about, like, it's going to mark when you go online to book your excursion. It's going to say mild, moderate, or strenuous. Of the ones I just talked about, the only one that was strenuous was the zip lining. Know yourself. You don't want to go on an excursion and not have fun because it's outside of your comfort zone. So that's just your little piece of advice for that. Depending upon the hours that your ship is in port, you'll probably be able to double up and create your own one-day itinerary. So maybe you'll go to the Bering Sea Fisherman's Tour and go to the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show, or go to the Bering Sea and then walk over and do like a little DIY and go to Creek Street, which is beautiful, or to go to the Totem Museum. So you can mix and match to fill your day. And one thing you might want to do is get some delicious fish and chips. They're so good there, real fresh. All right, based upon what we've experienced in Ketchikan so far, which excursion would you say, yep, number one, can't be missed?
Oh, the Bering Sea crab boat, for sure.
Yeah.
You could probably tell. I really like that one.
Let's move on to Juneau. The number one thing to do in Juneau is to go whale watching. And there's a lot of whale watching, a lot of options you can go. So you can book through the ship or you can book direct. Most people are going to book through the ship. When you book through the ship, they have combinations. So one of the combinations is going whale watching into the Mendenhall Glacier. And, you know, we met some people and they had chosen one of those. It was very rainy last year when we went. Same exact time of year as the year before that we had gone, and it wasn't raining.
All right.
So again, you'll want to be prepared when you pack. But they kind of got tired out from doing both. So they would have wished they just went whale watching, and then they didn't really want to do the Mendenhall Glacier part. I think for the most part, unless it was really terribly rainy like it was last year, doing both is not a problem because the bus takes you right to the Mendenhall Glacier Visitor Center. So you go to the Visitor Center, you have a view of the Mendenhall Glacier, but that's not, in my opinion, the best part. So why don't you talk about what we thought was the best part?
Right, there's a hike that you can go on a trail, and that takes you to Nugget Falls. And Nugget Falls you can get pretty close to, and it's big and powerful, and it's neat just to go see it and then get photos by it, and then just that walk through nature through there too. The trail's it's pretty lush, a lot of vegetation and things.
Oh, they warn you when you leave the visitor center, big warning, don't have any food out because of the bears, because we didn't see any bears, but they take it serious, like the bears could be there.
It's a bit of a walk too. It wasn't like it was a 5-minute walk on a path to get there. It was a dirt trail, and it took, I don't know if it took an hour or something, 45 minutes each way, something. It took a while.
I think it took longer because it was raining.
Yeah.
So I was walking kind of slow. I would definitely put that in the moderate level of,
right.
If it's raining in particular. If it wasn't raining, you could go a little faster because you don't want to slip and fall.
Right.
So you can understand that. Combining whale watching with the Mendenhall Glacier is great. There's different options. You can go to the visitor center, or like one year we did on Nature Hike where you saw the Mendenhall Glacier from afar across the Mendenhall Lake. Right. But that was really cool too. Mm-hmm. So check out that. The next thing that you can do is, let's just say you just want to go whale watching. You can just go whale watching and then maybe go to Tracy's, which is a restaurant there that's known for their crab legs. So that would be something you can make your own little itinerary as well. Then the last part that we're going to talk about is going on the Mount Roberts tram. So the Mount Roberts tram takes you up Mount Robbins to the a great place to view if it's not raining. So when we went, it was again pouring down rain, but we had purchased the tickets ahead of time from the cruise line. This is one that I personally would wait, sprinkle of advice. I would wait to buy those tickets until you get there, because if it's raining, I would say don't go on that. The reason why is it takes you up to the top. They do have like a movie and a restaurant, but I wanted to go for a hike. We did. It was crazy.
Yeah, there's trails up at the top.
I call it strenuous.
It was muddy.
It was muddy. It was treacherous. I can't believe all that we did that day in the rain. Again, come prepared, pack for it. But I would say that would be one that I would skip if it were raining. Yeah, so don't buy the tickets ahead of time from the cruise line. It's the same price, whether you buy it from the cruise line or you buy it when you get there. So just don't buy it until you get there to see if it's raining or not. Another excursion for the more adventurous, it's not more strenuous, but maybe adventurous, is taking a helicopter to the glacier. And then you can add on dog sledding on the glacier if you'd like. That sounds definitely like a bucket list item. And as far as expense-wise, it is too, because it's like $800 a person. In addition to that, you can go on a canoe ride on the Mendenhall Lake and get closer to the Mendenhall Falls and Mendenhall Glacier that way. That one I would say is more of a moderate activity, but I think that would be a really fun one to do as well. All right, number one pick for Juneau.
Whale watching.
How come?
Well, the sheer number of whales that we got to see, that was fantastic.
23.
All of the bubble netting where they break the surface, and well, really cool. Our captain was fantastic, constantly giving narration, and all of these insider pieces of information was great. And then one thing I didn't expect too, he had on a wire an underwater microphone that he let down over the side when the whales were near, and we could hear the whales speaking underwater. That was really cool. I didn't expect that.
It was great. I would definitely don't skip whale watching in Juneau.
Yeah.
We're moving on to Skagway. Now, Skagway is a big deal because of the gold. That's how you got to gold country. So the way you got to gold country originally was...
Well, you came in on a ship into Skagway, and then you had to get the horses and all your supplies and then head on your journey up through to the Yukon gold fields, right? It was a really long journey.
Yes, and then this train was built. So the White Pass and Yukon Railway was created, and it's stunning. The views from that are stunning. But there is some advice that Noah wants to give.
Oh yes, my little sprinkle of advice on this one is dependent upon what you book, because the railroad offers round-trip tickets or one-way tickets. So if you're thinking, well, I want to have a really good seat on the train so I can get the best views, take pictures, video, all that kind of stuff. If you're doing a round trip, there are no bad seats, because going up, you're going to be maybe against the cliff walls, seeing that. And then on the way back, if you stay in the same seats, you're heading back the other way, then you're going to see over the side into the gorge. If you're doing a one-way, then it depends on which direction you're going, and you need to think about what side of the train you want to sit on for what you want to see.
And the reason why they do one-ways is because they add on other things. So, for example, our first year, we did a one-way, and they added on what's called the Liar's Camp, which was like, the idea was it's kind of giving you a perspective of what the base camp was before people headed off to the Yukon.
Right.
So there's lots of different options where they combine the White Pass with a second excursion. One example of a second excursion that you could do alone or with the White Pass is going on the
dog sled.
The dog sled. So they have like a summer dog sled where...
Yeah, they had wheeled carts that the dogs pull.
Mm-hmm. And they talk about the Itineraries, they talk about those dogs and what it takes to raise the dogs, and you get to hold some puppies. Now, usually the cruise ship is in Skagway for quite a long time. So here's some different ideas of what you can do. You can do your excursion, and then go back to the ship, relax, maybe get something to drink, something to eat, and then go back out on the town, or vice versa. So depending upon what time your excursions are, You may go into town first, go back, take a break, go out to your excursion, or vice versa. The town is a really nice town. So what are some things that you noticed about the town?
A lot of historic buildings. You can pick up a map, I'm sure, in various locations, and it'll give you some history on some of the buildings around there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a variety of places to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Skagway Brewing, you can get a spruce tip beer there.
Why spruce tip beer? Listen to this. Spruce tip beer. That's how they got their vitamin C back in the day. They were all getting scurvy because they weren't eating vitamin C, so they figured out, we'll just put some spruce tip in our beer. It's good though. I like the beer. I thought it was good.
No, and then the Doughboy, you can get one of those. That's a cool treat to get.
So the Klondike Doughboy is basically like a big fry bread, and it was cinnamon sugar. I'll get one of those every time we go.
Yeah, I think. And then last time we were there, we went in the hardware store. The hardware store was really cool. An old building and stuff just to the ceiling inside. It was fun just to go walk around and look in there.
We bought an umbrella because it was pouring down rain, and we left our umbrella on the ship. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of rain last year. Okay, our number one pick is...
the railroad.
The railroad. Now, some sprinkle of advice to go with that. The first sprinkle of advice is go ahead and buy those tickets through your cruise line. The reason why, the price is the same, and you'll get the time that you want to go. And then you have a sprinkle too. Right.
So my sprinkle is going to be, don't be late getting in line for the train. It's very popular. It fills up. And the seating is first come, first serve. So don't be late.
You've gone on your excursions on the land, but one excursion that you don't even think of that excursion is your Glacier Viewing Day. So whether you're going to the Dawes Glacier, the Hubbard Glacier, or Glacier Bay National Park, you want to consider those an excursion. After all, it's the best way to see glaciers, and Glacier Bay, the only way to get into Glacier Bay is on a boat or a ship. So you got to be prepared. Here's a sprinkle of advice. First of all, you want to bring a good pair of binoculars. These are noculars. Can't see anything with them. So I purchased a good pair after that, or rent a good pair. Something else is, if you are going to Glacier Bay and you have a passport, one of the national park passport books, you want to bring it because they'll stamp it. They also will stamp it in Denali. If you don't have one, we didn't have one yet. You can buy one on the ship. We're gonna have a full packing list here in a sec, but for now, I just want some that you really need for Glacier Viewing Day, because it could rain. So you're gonna have a hat with a big visor, and then you have a rain jacket. So you're gonna put your rain jacket on and watch this great tip that I got from Cruise TV. If I can get my jacket on, is that you take your hood and you put it over, and now if the rain comes, it doesn't get into your face. If it's not raining, you could just have a hat with like a beanie hat. And then you'll want to have a pair of gloves. I love these gloves because they're nice lined gloves. I'll put a link to the description below of everything that we're talking about so you're prepared. Some would say it's a mistake not to book a balcony cabin on an Alaskan cruise. Well, then I've been having a mistake this is going to go on 3 years. For me, I want the money to spend on going on another cruise or going on an excursion. But it is a great place to see the glaciers on Glacier Bay Day or your Glacier Viewing Day, or just to see the scenery as you go through Alaska. It's a very scenic cruise. Here is a little sprinkle of advice. If you're like me and you do an inside cabin or an ocean view cabin, you will want to get up on the decks early and claim your spot so that you have the best place to see the glaciers. When's the best time to go to Alaska? Well, there are ships in Alaska, the Princess, Holland America, and Celebrity Cruises, all from May to September. Now, May, it's going to be colder. And then as you move on through the months, as it gets warmer, there could be more wildlife. So for example, if you want to go whale watching, you want to go more in July and August because the whales are still making their way to Alaska for their summer season. So That's what you might want to think about as you're choosing what time of year to go to Alaska. Whether you go in May, June, July, August, or September, you do want to check the weather forecast before you go. Last year, I checked the weather forecast before we went, and I did put a few extra things in my bag because I knew it was going to rain a lot, and we'll be talking about those right now. So you want to have warm socks. So we're going to start at the bottom, go up. Warm socks. Then you want to have either long underwear, or if you're a woman, you could have leggings to go underneath your pants just in case it's going to be cold. This year we're going in May. It's going to be cold. I'm going to need to layer up on the bottom. Now, moving up, you want to have a base layer. So a base layer that's close to your skin. Then like a fleece layer for warmth. And then the reason why you're layering, that way you can take off or put on depending upon if you get hot or the weather. After the fleece layer, the next thing you're going to want is a warmer jacket. So like a puffer jacket's nice because a puffer jacket, they don't weigh that much, but they have a lot of warmth. Like this one has like a lining that's meant to keep you warmer. And then you want to have a rain resist layer. So have like a rain jacket. Now, something to know about this particular rain jacket that I found out last year, it's rain resistant. It is not waterproof. So you have to get like a Gore-Tex if you want it waterproof. Fortunately, I brought a poncho. So this poncho went over top of all of it. So I do suggest, and I'll put a link in the description below to a poncho that you can put. So this is waterproof, so that's great to keep you nice, warm, and dry. What I'm adding this year to my list is waterproof pants. I never brought waterproof pants before, but man, I wish I had them last year. I will look again. I'm gonna look at the weather forecast. If it's not gonna rain, I'm not bringing waterproof pants. But if it's raining, they're coming. Okay, I got to now I gotta keep going up. So I already shared this hat, this nice and warm. It combines a visor with warmth. So that's one. If it's not going to be that hot, you might just bring like a bicycle, not a bicycle, a baseball cap, and it works as well. And then if it's not going to be raining, but it's going to be cold, just bring like your winter cap. And then you'll want to bring a pair of gloves for sure. These are nice because they're lined. They're keeping you nice and warm. Here's a few other things that you'll want to pack. So a waterproof backpack. So this one's nice because it not only is waterproof, well, it's water resistant, but inside there's like waterproof pouches where you'd put things that when you go out on your excursions, if there's something you don't want to get wet, you can put in there. What else? Oh, remember the good binoculars, not noculars like those. I brought a couple mini umbrellas last year, and I was super glad that I did, because on that day when we went to Nugget Falls, I definitely was carrying my tiny little umbrella, keeping me dry. And what else is in here? This is for your phone. So it's a case for it's a waterproof pouch for your phone. One thing to know is if your phone's in there, the pictures aren't as good. And what else? Last thing, this I didn't bring last year, but I'm bringing it this year. These are some hand warmer because we're going in May. It's going to be colder. So you might want to pack some hand warmers to put into those mittens. Another sprinkle advice: embrace the rain, embrace the weather. It could rain, it could not rain. Just be ready for it. Have your rain pants, have your rain jacket, have your poncho, and that way you can still go out and enjoy Alaska. You know, if it wasn't so rainy, they wouldn't have big waterfalls and lush greenery. Alaska is a bucket list cruise for a reason. The stunning scenery, the wildlife, the glaciers that you're not going to see anywhere else, and the excursion opportunities. And if you want to learn more about everything Alaska, watch this playlist next, where I go into more details about the excursions, the ship choices, and more. Rain jacket. And watch this great trick. You're going to put your rain jacket on, and then, oh my gosh, I have to do this again.